across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh my God, it's Friday already. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved. Get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Friday, December the 12th. Here's what's coming up. Our worst fears are realised as it emerges what we've suspected all along, that illegal migrants aren't just coming across the channel in small boats and dinghies, they're also being smuggled into Britain in the back of lorries, just like they always were. Shocked motorists watched in horror as cops pulled up an HGV truck heading north on the M40 in Oxfordshire, and in the back were no fewer than 13 unlucky foreigners on their way to God knows where. No asylum seeker hotels for them. They were all set to start their ghost lives. Totally unlawful, totally unknown. Just here. How many more are breaking into Britain like this? An alarming story that tends to substantiate the belief among experts that there may be as many as 10 million more people in the UK than we think. Is the population really the official figure of 70 million? Or are 80 million people crammed into this tiny island? Certainly feels like it, doesn't it? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, another pathetic attempt by this timid little Labour government to change the rules of the European Convention on Human Rights, so that, just maybe, we might be able to deport jailed foreign sex offenders and other serious criminals from abroad. Wouldn't that be nice? But as Keir's crew go crawling to the EU, the big two, dastardly duo, Germany and France, say nein and non. In other words, Number 10's deluded dream is not going to happen. When are Starmer and his gormless gang going to work out that unless we just leave the ECHR altogether, they will never, ever solve the migrant crisis? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, faux tough Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood shamelessly copies Donald Trump to pretend she's cracking down on our asylum seeker chaos. Trump is actually stopping the invasion of illegals in America. Here in Britain, Shabana isn't. Her love of the ECHR doesn't help. 0344 499 1000. In other news, the battle of the entertainment giants as Hollywood behemoth Paramount outbids Netflix with a jaw-dropping $108 billion offer for Warner Brothers. How about that? And in an hour or so, Britain's most astonishing teenager, young Bob, joins us with his take on the trial of Charlie Kirk's alleged smiling assassin, and also the politically biased rape gang inquiry chaired by a couple of Labour Party stalwarts and, whoop-de-doo, a Jeremy Corbyn fan. 0344 499 1000. Plus, meet the dad with more than 100 children to find out how this unusual man fathered so many kids and continues to father kids. Stay tuned. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Friday night together. And it being Friday, my Friday friend, political strategist Pete Barnes is in the studio. Hi, Pete.
Hi, Kev. How's it going?
All right. Well, let's get straight down to business. We've got a lot to pack in tonight. But this story caught my eye, and I think it really does bear serious discussion. This is, as I said in my monologue, the extraordinary story happened today that motorists on the M40 motorway in Oxfordshire, heading north, was stunned when an HGV truck lorry was pulled up by a fleet of police cars, obviously some kind of tip-off, and they pulled them over, and out got 13, 13 we think, illegal migrants. So 14 people were arrested, including the driver. 13 unlucky for some, as in us, the British people. Now, if this is what we think it is, and that's what Thames Valley Police are saying, then it confirms, as I said, our worst fears, and that is that we've sort of got into the habit of focusing and obsessing almost on the small boat migrants, the dinghies that come across the channel. This looks as if all along, while we were going, oh look, more came over the channel, more boats, more boats. Well, they've also, so that was on boats, they've also been coming on trucks, on the ferries. This is what used to be the system.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Well, I would say it's back. I don't think it ever went away.
It never went away. And I think you're right there, Kev, that we obsessed over the small boats because it was a very visual representation of a massive failure and a threat that was coming literally towards us. And I think, obviously, we focused in on that. But I always look to the fact that, you know, you've got the people that overstay on a visa. The problem of immigration is so complex. But again, on this particular case, it is about border security, because it could have been anything that was coming in on those lorries. And, luckily it just seems to be people, but we don't even know who the people are. And, like you said, that we don't know how many people have come into the country that way, or all sorts of ways people are smuggled in. And it just shows that, yet again, nothing is working because nobody seems to have a grip on it. It's like soap to these people. It's just like running around with the soap. It's just ridiculous.
Trying to hold a piece of wet soap. And this would tend to indicate, as I also said in my magnificent monologue, very good, particularly good today, wasn't it? Yeah, I was rather pleased with it. I hope you were too. No, seriously. It has long been said that our official population is just below 70 million. It's about 69 million. By the way, when I was a kid, okay, long time ago, just all the jokes, last century, all that stuff. I remember it was 55 million.
Yeah.
55 million. It's now officially 69 million, near enough 70 million to round up. But a lot of experts in this field say that there's probably 10 million people living in this country we have no idea about. We don't even know when they came, how they came, or even that they're officially here. This story would tend to substantiate fears that there may be millions of illegal migrants in this country. They didn't go to asylum seeker hotels. They weren't processed. They didn't get free doctors, free lawyers and all that. They didn't get a 50 quid a week benefit. They just, here, we're just watching it now, if you're watching on YouTube, quite a big operation. They're just smuggled into this country in the back of lorries and maybe other methods, and then they begin their ghost lives, usually working in the black market, in the black employment industry, undercut, under the radar. Yeah. So this, as I say, may prove that there are millions, I think it almost certainly does prove that there are millions and millions and millions of foreigners in this country who had nothing to do with the asylum seeking system. They just came in and they are here.
Oh, without a doubt, because I also looked to the Office of National Statistics that actually said we needed to have an emergency census, and that was stamped down by the government from a press release, because they said we don't know how many people are here. We have an Office of National Statistics that can't count. I think that sums Britain up rather nicely. But again, it is the security aspect, it is the public safety aspect, it is national security. It is just the fact that this is one of the most fundamental core things the government has to get right, and it has dropped the ball more times than you can count at this point. And I think the public look at these stories and they're just not surprised anymore. And that concerns me more, because it means that, we kind of start to get used to it. And, we've got to kind of stay vigilant and keep the pressure on to say that this has to change, no matter who is in government and who's in the civil service. We've got to get a grip on this issue, because you do not have a border if you don't know who's here. And if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. You just basically, as you always say, we've got a welfare state with a bit of a country attached to it.
With a country attached. By the way, I don't know what this is doing here. I've just found this on the desk. This
Passive aggressive?
Remember that? All those COVID, but yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be wearing one of these. Flu epidemic. Wear a mask. Let me think about that for a second. No, I'm not going to wear a mask. Would you like to wear a mask?
Oh, absolutely no. I always like the idea of them because I could cross the street away from them.
Yeah.
You see one coming towards you.
Yeah. How could this piece of... You know, it's all this gap in the side and everything. It's ridiculous to even suggest that that's going to work. There's super flu epidemic.
Yeah.
Got to wear a mask.
Did you see West Streeting on this? He said the NHS might collapse, and I said, we've had that story every year since I was born.
Oh,
every year.
Yeah. The NHS always in a total state of shock every year that winter arrives.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
People get sick in winter. Nobody told us. Why didn't they tell us?
Yeah. It's not like we don't talk about the weather.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, by the way, Zach Polanski. Look, be careful, folks. Because we know that migrants do come across the channel in small boats and dinghies. They haven't for a while because the weather's been terrible. I'm told that down on the south coast, the wind has been a howling a gale for quite a long time. But they think the weather is calming down a bit. Anyway, Zach Polanski, I don't know if we've got pictures, he's been over to see the migrants. So I suspect that, so, you know, probably 100,000 will sort of hightail it to find boats to get away from Zach Polanski. I mean, there's nothing worse than having to
actually deport him.
Let's hope Zach had a one-way ticket to Calais. Of course, his policy is that we ought to let them all in and then give them jobs.
That's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But my fear is that they're going to do very well at the next general election because the Labour Party are that terrible, and that's how terrible people get into politics. Because the things that are supposed to be good are bad.
In that case, Zach, or David Paulden, if I can use your real name, I wish you all the best.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
take as long as a break as you like.
Yeah. Enjoy Calais, and I don't know, maybe just don't come back, eh?
First time I've ever felt sorry for the French.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, look, there's the migrants running across the breach. They've just seen Zach Polanski. Yeah. They just, look, Zach, come on, let's get out of here.
He's asking them, you need to go wipe that guy's bum.
I'll tell you. Right, well, let's go to break now, shall we? And we'll have a proper chat about, one of the stories of this week, pathetically, has been Keir's crew, the Labour government, lousy, timid little Labour government. You know, they haven't got the guts to do what everybody knows they've got to do, which is leave the ECHR. So I had somebody, by the way, I had a Labour politician on talk a couple of days ago, talking to, I think it was yesterday, it might not have been a Labour supporter, a Labour advisor, one of these people. And Alex said, I think we should leave the ECHR. And he said, what, not have any human rights?
Yes, I know the clip. It's Sebastian Selleck.
This is exactly the ludicrous misnomer. You know, America, Australia, New Zealand, all these countries are rather famous for an extreme devotion to human rights. They're not in the ECHR. I'll tell you why, because I'm pretty good at geography. They're not in Europe. So they're not in the European Convention on Human Rights, and yet they have a very strong tradition of supporting human rights. So being in the ECHR, leaving the ECHR, for the avoidance of doubt, would not affect in any way our commitment to human rights. We've got the Human Rights Act, which I think we should probably get rid of.
That is the one you do need to get rid of.
We should get rid of that. But we could pass our own Bill of Human Rights. But you don't have to be in a club to believe in human rights and to enforce human rights. This nonsense about, if we leave the ECHR, Russia aren't in the ECHR, we'd be like them. No, we wouldn't.
I know, it's funny, because if you think of the countries you just named, Australia, America and New Zealand, it's because the British had an influence. It's because our commitment to human rights. That's why they have a commitment to human rights. You know, we joined the ECHR to make other countries join it. That was the point. It's just a stupid argument made by stupid people.
Yeah, and I keep saying, please, somebody, give me one advantage, one thing that we gain from being in the ECHR, being in this sclerotic club that prevents its members from having sovereign control over their own decisions, because that's what it's all about. In the end, in terms of what we do with migrants, asylum seekers, and a whole slew of other types of people, we can't ultimately make our own sovereign decisions, because these people, asylum seekers, they appeal. It goes to a foreign court over there in Strasbourg, the ECHR, and if they decide against Britain, which they always do, then we lose. They make the decision. So, I mean, can you tell me one thing we get out of
Trust me, I'm probably the only person that's probably read the entire thing, and I can't find an actual advantage of us being in it at this point, because most of it is already our law. Yeah. That's the point.
And don't get me started on the disadvantages of being in the ECHR. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about this rather sad and pathetic attempt by Starmer and his gang to go over to Europe and say, you know, we don't want to leave the ECHR, but can we change it a bit, you know, so we can kick asylum seekers out? Well, good luck with that. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A couple of more asylum seeker migrant crisis stories to talk about. As I was just saying before the break, Pete, our lot have been over to Europe begging Europe to change the terms of the ECHR. That's just not going to happen. France and Germany, the big two, led the charge in saying, as I said, no, nine, no. Not going to happen. There's a guy who is the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. His name is Alain Berset.
Yes.
He warned the UK not to destroy, I'm quoting him by the way, to destroy or undermine the system by seeking stronger powers to remove foreign criminals and failed asylum seekers.
It's quite interesting on him, though, because not so long ago he was very much in favour of reforming it, and he got rather captured pretty quickly when he got that job.
Yeah. The point is, Pete and folks, in order for us to succeed, what they want to do is to loosen up or get rid of Articles 3 and 8. Is it 3? 3, I think, is the right to a family life, and 8 is the right not to be sent back to your home country where you may face persecution. This is what asylum seekers, when they fail, always appeal on the basis of. And also it's when paedophiles come out of jail or serious criminals, they go, oh, although I murdered 10 people and raped 14 women and I'm a paedophile, you can't deport me because I've got a wife and 2 kids, and therefore I've got a right to a family life. And every single time I go, yeah, you're absolutely right, you can stay. So these are the clauses that we want to get rid of, so that or water down, or to make unmandatory, not mandatory, if you see what I mean, so that we can deport people that we want to deport. Criminals, paedophiles, jailbirds, etc. Anyway, in order to water those clauses down or get rid of them, we would require the agreement from all 46 member states.
So the chances of that ever happening is 0.
So somebody told me that to get the agreement of 46 countries on anything, you are talking about a minimum of 10 years. Easily, probably more. But already, and these are significant players, France and Germany have said no. So it's just not going to happen. Don't let Starmer and Shabana Mahmood, the pretend tough Home Secretary, tell us we're negotiating to soften the terms and to get rid of the difficult clauses in the ECHR. They can say it, but it will never, ever happen. As Nigel Farage, Robert Jenrick, all the
fact when everybody of that kind all agrees with something, you have to start paying attention to it. And I always find it funny because it went from 4, and then the Brits got involved, and then it went up to 26, which was quite impressive. But again, it's not going anywhere because you're not even going to get 46 people to agree on this particular issue. And that's why the Council of Europe is designed that way. It is designed to paralyse this, to make sure that it is basically impossible to change. What you can do in the UK is we can unincorporate it from our law. So basically it's the Human Rights Act that brings the ECHR into British law. You just get rid of the Human Rights Act and then you could get rid of the ECHR. But unfortunately we don't have a government with the backbone to do it. That's the problem.
I sort of, another way we could do it is just stop obeying it. Saying,
we follow so much of it.
You can have your little court cases, we're not going to take any notice. Most of the other countries treat the ECHR like that, but we treat it like it's kind of ordained from on high, like it's God's ruling, because we have a government full of these ridiculous human rights lawyers who actually take the ECHR seriously. Of course, that is the problem. We're not going to get out of the ECHR anytime soon, and as long as we don't leave the ECHR, which Reform UK, of course, want to do, which the Conservatives say they will do as soon as they achieve power. Took Kemi way too long to come to that decision.
She needed to do it that way because most of the party are still in favour of staying in it. That is the problem. That's why it took her so long. She had to put a non-ideological argument together, which is daft, but there we are.
Doesn't matter. There'll only be 7 of them after the next election, so whatever. Now, let's move on to the other. So, we don't leave the ECHR. There's no chance ever of solving the migrant crisis. End of. Now, here's another appeals or a asylum seeker nightmare. the appeals backlog. So this is one of the problems, Pete, is that I'm a migrant. Imagine I am. Years ago I was. Well, my family were. They are from Ireland, although you're allowed to come from Ireland. But anyway, imagine I'm a migrant. I've come over here and got I'm one of the very rare ones that my asylum application fails. 48% pass, but which is the most in the world. We are the softest touch in the world. But, but around about half do fail. Now, the thing is, you think, that's not too bad. Well, it is, actually. But once these half fail, they appeal. Then they'll get chucked out and they'll be, so no, you failed. You failed again. We're going to deport you. They appeal again. Then we go, well, they fail. So now this time we're going to kick out. No, they appeal again. They can appeal ad infinitum, and you'll never guess what they do. So failing your asylum seeker application is no barrier to you staying in this country almost as long as you like.
Yeah.
It's absurd. Now, that's why, partly why I would imagine, that the appeals backlog for asylum seekers has doubled in the past year. The backlog of asylum seekers by September was an astonishing, these are people waiting for a decision, having appealed. They've been turned down and they've all appealed. This may not be the first time they've turned down. It might be the 10th time they've been turned down. The system is insane, folks, as you're discerning. So the backlog of appeals, asylum appeals by September, just gone, 69,670. So that's massive, just about 70,000. Up from 34,234 in September 2024. So that is astonishing and shocking and a serious problem.
A huge problem, because if you remember, we pay for both sides. We pay for the prosecution and we pay the legal aid for the migrant to keep appealing ad infinitum. This costs us a fortune. It is why there is the backlog. It is why the courts are not functioning, because yet again, it is the migrant crisis creeping into other areas of politics and other areas of the state, and it's just sucking in resources and time and all the rest of it. And this is the thing, we're so kind of like toxicified by it now that it's a real institutional problem in everything that we touch, because we're not got a government that is willing to do the really hard bit and actually lead on the issue and actually do something.
Yeah, well, what I think we've got to do is put a limit on the amount of times you can appeal.
You can't do that, it's in the ECHR.
Well, we have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, is it in the ECHR that you can appeal as many times as you...
Pretty much. It's a vague interpretation, but this is the problem. The ECHR is all kind of vague language, so it's about the interpretation of the judges that allow it. Yeah. One of the problems you've got...
So we could actually unilaterally say, well, I would say...
The courts would have to do it.
I would say you get one appeal.
Yeah, I think one. Yeah.
But literally people are appealing 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
And ludicrously after 10 times they go, yeah, actually, on reflection, yeah, you can stay. It's just ridiculous.
And then you've also got a big industry of these lawyers making a lot of money out of this as well. That I don't particularly like. There's leeching again off the state as well.
Immigration lawyers, yeah. they rather like the migrant crisis, to say the least. A record number of asylum claims were made in the year to September. These are not appeals. These are new arrivals making their first claim, their first application for asylum, 110,051. Just over 110,000. Plus 60, for sake of argument. So we've got 70,000 backlog of appeals, 70,000 people who've appealed, waiting for a decision. We've got 110,000 new asylum seeker claims. Labour, the situation under Tories, for 14 years the Tories turned Britain into a migrant crisis basket case. Incredibly, and you can't say this strongly enough, Labour have achieved what everybody thought would be impossible. They have made it probably 10 times worse.
Yeah, the very definition of hold my beer. Like, it's just ridiculous how bad they got, because this is the point, is that actually you can point to the day they came into office and everything just got worse. And it's so funny when you look at the numbers, when you look at the backlogs, everything went even worse the day they came into office, and it all stems from removing Rwanda. I still think that was one of the worst things we ever did, because even though we hadn't had any of the planes take off, they was having an effect. And I think if one flight took off, we'd have been in a very different situation.
The thing that annoys me the most is when these Labour politicians, Yvette Cooper's very fond of saying it, Keir Starmer too, but Labourites say it all the time. Rwanda didn't work. Point of order, Rwanda didn't start, because that half-wit Keir Starmer, the day he entered number 10 Downing Street, he promised, to be fair, he always promised he'd do it, and he did. He ripped up the Rwanda scheme, thereby flushing effectively £700 million worth of taxpayer investment in hotels, facilities in Rwanda, the entire scheme. £700 million we'd spent preparing to send asylum seekers to Rwanda to be processed, and he just ripped it up on day one, says Zakemek, and we have never had a deterrent since. So we've never had a deterrent since. Don't talk to me about the one in, one out scheme.
The hokey-cokey migrant.
That's not a deterrent. No. That's a joke. You're quite right. Rwanda was never tried.
Well, it's funny because they're now going
too late now.
They're going to Europe to try to get a Rwanda scheme off the ground. That's the hilarious bit of it. The thing they stopped, they're now trying to get back on track.
And by the way, when we're talking about the migrant crisis, we showed this amazing documentary by Isabel.
Oh, I watched it. Yes, yeah.
The undercover migrant, about a guy who went over there and lived in the Calais jungle for 2 weeks. And
incredibly brave.
Graham has texted in to point out. He said, "Hi Kev, here is perhaps a different take on the migrant crisis. Having watched the fantastic report by Isabel Oakeshott, it just reaffirmed my belief that the French government are complicit in the facilitation of the small boats. This is quite clearly the middle finger from France because of Brexit. Why are we not viewing this as a direct attack on the United Kingdom?" So that's what was proved. That the police, les gendarmes, over at the French police over on the north coast around Calais, Dunkirk, actually help these migrants get to the small boats. They usher them onto buses, they take them to the beaches, they watch them, and they wave them goodbye. Graham is quite right. That's another reason why this invasion carries on. And as we started the show, proving that, OK, this is terrible, what's going on there, but they're coming in on the back of lorries as well. This is absolutely and utterly, terrifyingly out of control. This government just hasn't got a handle on this. It's a disaster, folks. 03444991000. When we come back, the Home Secretary trying to prove that she's tough. Doesn't want to leave the ECHR, but she's tough. Don't leave the ECHR, Shabs. You're never going to solve the crisis, as I keep saying, but you won't. Anyway, she's trying to act like she's tough, getting tough. So she's copied Donald Trump. She's made a kind of copycat video to prove how tough she is. And it's literally like frame for frame, almost exactly the same as what Donald Trump made for Americans. So we'll show you that compare and contrast after this break.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Here's a text from Derek in Hertfordshire. We're going to talk about, in just a second, Donald Trump's success in stopping America's migrant crisis. He reduced illegal migration across the southern border by something like 93% in a week. If you've got resolve, you could do this, folks. It should be easier for us. We've got a damn great stretch of water between us and France. All America's got is this land border between the States and Mexico. Derek has written in to say, Tony Adams in Australia and Donald Trump in America stopped it in 1 week. Viktor Orban in Hungary didn't even let it start. The UK does not want to stop it. Why? That could be the case, but Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, who likes to act like she's tough but isn't really, she's determined to persuade us that she's going to be the one to do the deed, to actually stop this. She never will, but she's determined to persuade us, and she's not beyond copying. Plagiarism, you might call it. Have a look at this. This is a video that Donald Trump made to prove genuinely how he's tackling successfully their migrant crisis.
Tickets, please, tickets. Well, you coming? Never take the rest. You can ride for free. You bet.
It's obviously ironic, but the message is clear. You break into our country, we'll fly you back to wherever you come from. Here's Shabana Mahmood's video. Hey Labour supporters, you lovely be kind socialists, what do you think of your Home Secretary's video there? Little bit kind of fascistic, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. This is the thing. Like, if you look at it from a strategy point of view, this is the worst thing the Labour Party could have done, because they're losing votes to the left more than they are to the right. So, you know, this is stupid on that front. But the idea that Shabana Mahmood is a tough Home Secretary that's going to get a grip of this issue is the stupidest and the most laughable thing I've heard all year. And that's saying something. Yeah. I go back to the old quote. If you have to tell somebody that you are something, you're not that thing. So if you have to say you're tough, you're not tough. Yeah. And it is actions. And she failed on the Sentencing Council. She was in favour of increasing legal aid to migrants, and yet it's one after another after another. But I'll tell you what, she got the kiss of death for me when Tony Blair gave her the tap on the shoulder saying, you could be the leader of the Labour Party this week in a one-on-one interview.
This week's leader of the Labour Party,
no, like in the rumours of this kind of, that she might make a run for the leadership, she did a sit-down with Tony Blair, and he sang her praises. So if that doesn't tell you that she's a wrong 'un, I don't know what else does.
This is the Labour Party's ABS campaign, anyone but Starmer. Yeah. She's not tough. No. We had video of her from 10 years ago standing on a Greek island, what's it called, Lesbos, handing out food parcels to illegal migrants who'd turned up from the Middle East and sub-Saharan Africa. And we said the food for them, they've come in with her, we hope the new life. That's Shabana Mahmood. She hasn't changed. No. She's just a Labour socialist. She ain't going to do
She's probably going to lose her seat.
But she's doing all this stuff to try to be Prime Minister. But I tell you what, I mean, her video made Donald Trump's look like a walk in the park. Yeah. Donald Trump's was done with amusement. Hers is quite sinister.
It is. I thought that, actually. It did the music, they added like the gritty. I thought it was like some kind of 24 hours in police custody kind of video. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Exactly. So, yeah, what do you make of that, Shabana Mahmood? Shall we quickly talk about, the Epstein files, just sort of moving on, as it were. Just mentioned Donald Trump. Donald Trump's obviously involved. Now, there's this weird thing going on in America. which is the drip, drip, drip of releases of more and more pictures of, Epstein, photos of Trump, Bill Clinton, the former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor as he's now known. Richard Branson seems to have cropped up in this latest set of pictures. Woody Allen. There's Woody Allen, if you're watching Woody Allen with the convicted late ungreat paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. There's Bill Clinton with Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell there. So this is the House Oversight Committee. Democrat dominated.
It's led by the Republicans. But it's the Democrats that are leaking and drip feeding all of this because they're desperate to try and get Trump and his lot trapped in it, but they've not got him on anything. It's a bit pathetic, actually.
Well, yeah, I've got to say, all these people I've mentioned, that there's no proof that they've done anything wrong. But these pictures are they'll be all over the papers tomorrow because look at them. They're like holiday snaps. There's that's Jeffrey Epstein and Richard Branson. I don't know who the other guy is, but that's obviously on some beautiful sort of sunshine tropical island, maybe Pedo Island. Here's Little St James, it was called officially. Yeah. And there's Trump. The pictures contain the Trump condoms, $4.50, with a picture of Donald Trump on the face with "I'm huge." There's Steve Bannon talking to Jeffrey Epstein. So again, I've got that's Woody Allen talking to Steve Bannon.
That's two people I thought would never be in the same room.
Exactly right. So I have to stress, there's no suggestion that any of these. There's Bill Gates getting onto the Lolita Express. Yeah. There's no suggestion that these people have done anything wrong criminally, but they won't be enjoying these pictures.
No, not at all. And I think the thing that people have to remember is that Jeffrey Epstein was a financier. So he was naturally in and around very other rich people and celebrities and people who make films and all this kind of stuff. So he moved in those circles. So yeah, there will be photographs of him with very famous people, but we do have to be careful. Like you say, they haven't been, it's no kind of proof of a crime or anything, but it won't stop people making the assumptions. And that's what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to find the one bit where they could actually take on Trump because the Democrats are in a worse state than the Labour Party are.
Well, so, of course, Andrew, the Andrew formerly known as Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, also features in these pictures again. So the pain for him gets worse. There is Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, or Prince Andrew as he was there, with the billionaire tech tycoon, Microsoft Bill Gates. So these are rich and powerful people, some of whom, quite a few of whom went to Pedo Island, where there was always a bevy of very young beauties. Yeah. Make of that what
Andrew took his kids.
Well, no, it wasn't Fergie took the kids.
Was it Fergie?
Andrew didn't go with the kids.
Right. I thought it was
Fergie took the kids.
Yeah.
Nice place to go on holiday. Little St James it was called, but its nickname was Pedo Island. It's part of the Dominican Republic near the Dominican, and pictures emerged of it actually this time last week. Just about what a soulless, weird place. Yeah. Did you see the picture of the sort of? It looked like a dental chair. Big sort of strange mechanical reclining chair in this odd, soulless room, and on the walls were these male face masks, like human faces, masks, all across the walls. What went on there?
See, I think if you're buying an island, there's something wrong with you anyway, just as a solid rule.
I'll tell you what's wrong with you. It's that you've got too much money. Yeah. They used to say cocaine is God's way of telling you you've got too much money. Well, God's way of telling you you've got way too much money is when you buy an island. Where did Epstein get his money from? It's still a mystery. There's something, a story still to be told there. Get your calls in. Let me know what you think about any of the issues we've been talking about, particularly the lorries. The migrants are coming in on lorries, folks. Our attempts to leave the ECHR and the alarming figures proving that our asylum situation is rocketing. The appeals backlog for asylum seekers has doubled in a year. Appeals reaching 69,670 by September, up from 34,000 the same time last year, 2024 that is. And the fact that over the past year, 110,051 new asylum claims have been made. We are drowning in this, folks. We are drowning in it. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the biggest deal in Hollywood. Last week we discussed it. It was just breaking last week that Netflix were poised to buy Warner Brothers and all its various facets, you know, its streaming services, its studios, everything about it, for something like $62 billion. We've got $62 billion. Well, Paramount Studios has stepped in. They've now offered $108 billion for Warner Brothers. We'll talk about that next with our in-house showbiz expert, Ethan. He'll be in the studio. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile.
Welcome back. Well, this exact time last week, Pete Barnes and I became intrigued because this story broke that Netflix, the streaming giant, put in, looks set to buy the another entertainment behemoth, Warner Brothers. for, we thought actually it was $54 billion, but I think it was near enough $62 billion. So what intrigued me about it, I said, I've never heard such an amount of money to be paid for a company. Well, now we learn that Paramount, obviously a rival to Netflix and Warner Brothers, Hollywood studio, plus it owns CBS, huge entertainment conglomerate, if you like, has put in a bid for, wait for it, $108 billion to buy Warner Brothers. It's a hostile bid. They've gone straight to the shareholders to say we can offer you a lot more money. Ethan Sills, our in-house showbiz real entertainment reporter, is in the studio. Are they going to take that amount of money, Ethan?
It remains to be seen. The shares for Paramount and Warner Brothers have bounced this week favourably since this got announced, whilst Netflix has sort of gone down. On the wake of this, I think there's seems to be a push towards making the Warner Brothers shares possibly a bit bigger, so that it might force Netflix to offer more money on their side.
As I understand it, the reason, because Paramount, the Ellison's family, one of the second richest man in the world, he's fed up. They're very fed up because they've been trying to buy Warner's for some time, and out of nowhere, suddenly they read in the papers that Netflix are going to buy the company that they want. And that's why they've gone hostile straight to the shareholders. Now, the reason apparently Warner's favoured the lesser bid by Netflix is because Netflix were offering Warner's what Warner's felt was a more constructive portfolio of ideas of what to do with the company. In other words, to develop the company, whereas all Paramount wanted to do was to buy the stuff and start bleeding it dry. Would that be a fair assessment?
Well, yeah, so basically, this is David Ellison, who's the son of Larry Ellison. He has his own production company called Skydance. For the last 2 years, they were trying to buy Paramount. They finally succeeded, had it all signed off and closed in August this year. Only $8 billion they got for Paramount, because it's a relatively small company in Hollywood terms.
Yeah.
And basically straight away David was telling everyone that he wanted to buy Warner Brothers as well, because Paramount's basically too small to sort of really tackle everything on its own. They were trying to schmooze Warner Brothers for quite some time. They wanted the whole Warner Brothers Discovery deal. You know, this is the last big merger was when Warner Brothers and Discovery came together, ended up in billions of dollars of debt, which is why they're now trying to sell it to try and get rid of all of that. Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav, he wants to just sell Warner Brothers and Discovery separately, whereas Paramount was dead set on buying the whole thing.
Remind us, what if Paramount succeed? What will they get for their money? The whole kit and caboodle.
So currently Netflix is getting Warner Brothers the studio plus HBO and the gaming industry, as we talked about last week, and all the sort of IP comes with that, which is Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, all that sort of thing.
Owning those very valuable franchises.
Whereas if they sell the Discovery brands, the big thing there obviously is CNN. That's what they're sort of selling off. All those cable channels are going separately. That's what Paramount's saying that they'll buy. So that's what Paramount's valued the whole company at $108 billion US. Netflix has put Warner Brothers at $82 billion US, and Warner Brothers believes they can actually sell the Discovery cable channel side for bigger than that sort of $26 billion difference between the two.
What about antitrust laws over there? What we would call what we have the Monopolies Commission here, where sort of media companies, newspaper companies find it hard to merge because if you own 7 newspapers, you're thought to have too much control over the news business. Same for entertainment, antitrust laws. Who would be likely to encounter the most problems here? Would it be Paramount or would it be Netflix?
Well, Netflix would encounter a big issue on the streaming side because HBO Max is the 3rd biggest streamer in the world. Going with Netflix, you're again going to create this monopoly, basically. About 44% of the market's all going to go on that streaming side, so that's where there's a big concern there. Netflix doesn't have all the studio side, though, so you're going to this probably works in their favour. With Paramount, the big issue is going to be if they buy all those channels, that's where you have a bit more of the tension of sort of them owning CBS News and CNN. I think they're going to sort of then own Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon as well, as an example of just sort of these competitors will be all in one house. You're not going to be able to compete as much. I think one of the key factors here, though, is that Paramount is currently valued at around 14 billion US. And so they're trying to buy this company for, you know, what's that, like four or five times that amount. Netflix is valued around 400 billion. So that's one of the big reasons why Warner Brothers is going with them, is because they think that they've actually got the money to pay for it. Whereas David Ellison is very much relying on his father's Oracle fortune as a sort of backstop to this. Plus he's got all three sort of Gulf wealth funds going into this as well. The sort of rare sign of unity between sort of Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Abu Dhabi are all sort of buying into this. You've got Jared Kushner's fund is involved as well. So there's a lot of players in the Paramount fund to try and make that all work. Whereas Netflix is basically just one company, one team. Wants what Warner Brothers wants.
Okay, folks, how much do you earn? I wonder if you earn as much as Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Executive David Zaslav. In 2024, he earned $52 million. So got $1 million a week.
Wow.
$1 million a week. If he's... We haven't got too much longer now, but if he's worth that much money, how come his company is the weak one being taken over by these other companies?
Well, from that merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery just left them with billions of dollars of debt. For a New Zealand example of this, Warner Brothers Discovery owned one of our TV channels there, and as part of the way of clearing all this debt, they shut down an entire news network just as a tax write-off. At the same time that David was earning these millions and millions of dollars, they cancelled several movies that had already been filmed and completed and were ready for release, and just threw them off into the abyss as a tax write-off. So it's all a bit messy, really, what's going to happen.
But David Zaslav is doing very, very nicely. Do you fancy that, folks? $1 million a week, $52 million he earned in 2024. These people at the top of these studios, the money they get is phenomenal. He's obviously quite good. Some of them aren't. But young Bob is in the studio after the 8 o'clock news, so you better stick around for that. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Didn't have time to thank our in-house showbiz entertainment industry reporter Ethan Sills, so thank you to him for that update on this extraordinary deal going through in Hollywood. $108 billion to buy a company run by Warner Brothers, run by a man who earns $1 million a week. Nice work if you can get it. But I'm still with Pete Barnes, political strategist. I'm very pleased to welcome into the studio a man who is fast becoming a friend of this show. Always a pleasure to have him here. He is, well, he's generically known as Young Bob, real name Thomas Moffat. He's just 17, maybe the most extraordinary 17-year-old I've ever met. Welcome, Thomas.
Well, firstly, I'd appreciate it if you pay me £1 million per time I'm on this show.
I've been doing this over a year. I'd like £1 million.
Well, we can unionise and fight for it.
That's right. Just form a union. Listen, you run the Turning Point organisation over here in Britain, and of course, the entire organisation that's gone international but was originally started in America by the late tragic Charlie Kirk, who, as you know, a few months back was assassinated at Utah Valley State University in Utah, of course. And his trial has just started, which is why I wanted to get you in, Thomas. And we have to be careful here. The man charged, the alleged assassin, the man who shot him at Utah Valley University, is a guy called Tyler Robinson. He's been charged with aggravated murder. That was September the 10th that happened. So the trial has started in a Utah courthouse. This guy, we've got to be careful here. He, for legal reasons, he's the alleged killer, and he's gaining a reputation as the smiling assassin because he's been grinning away in court as if it's a fun experience, which is rather strange. But his lawyers have thrown the case into chaos by saying that he already cannot get a fair trial because he's been filmed. It's being live streamed, this court case, with shackles on, so the appearance of criminality could prejudice the case. Utah are planning to, the attorneys there are planning to seek the death penalty. But your thoughts on this guy grinning away throughout this, and the fact that his lawyers are trying to throw this case into disarray by saying that because he arrived amid heavy security, shackled at the waist, wrists and ankles, wearing a dress shirt, tie and slacks, but because of that, that gives the image of criminality, and therefore they say he can't get a fair trial.
So firstly, I think that him smiling is largely contributed by the disinformation on certain tribes of the right surrounding the possibility that it wasn't him. And also on the left, if you saw videos immediately emerging after his death, you even had the Oxford Union president laughing immediately after hearing of his assassination. So if a figure like that hears that his ideas are being legitimised and justified, then of course he's going to be smiling, because the court of public opinion has already been won due to a war on disinformation, which largely, thanks to bad actors and grifters, is slowly emerging as the victorious group. Now, in terms of the actual court case, I would like to say that it's quite trivial, and I think that when we discuss surrounding court proceedings when it comes to, for example, even firstly, whether you should be able to film a court case, I think that that largely decreases transparency when it comes to these cases. I mean, how many opportunists, if they were unable to film, or if, for example, they actually accepted that the court had been misrepresented by his appearance, would use that to offset another series of conspiracy theories?
It's a really good point. What is interesting, if I can use this phrase, America may be at a turning point when it comes to the coverage of trials. I was there throughout the 90s, and unquestioningly, every case if it was of public interest, would have TV cameras in. There was an entire channel called talkTV where you could just watch court cases round the clock if you wanted to. The main channels would take feeds from the interesting cases and so on and so forth. The Americans never questioned this, and I always thought, well, this is rather good. It's, you know, it's transparent. But of course, defence lawyers are now trying to say, well, if our clients are filmed with handcuffs on, people will think they're guilty, the jury might think they're guilty, and that image prejudices their chances of a fair trial. So it could be that partly because of this case, Tyler Robinson, that America is edging towards not filming trials or not allowing to film trials in the future, just as that we're not allowed to film them in this country.
Yeah, I've largely seen this because I sometimes do journalistic work, especially in court cases, and contempt charges, especially just filming or even audio recording, especially in some cases when there isn't even a jury, is sort of dystopian and Orwellian in the UK, and I would like the idea of, you know, freedom of expression to kind of be preserved in the States through actually filming and having transparency, especially when it comes to Charlie Kirk as being this figure on the right. If his assassination case isn't recorded, it allows for the possibility of more emerging conspiracy theories, which would then contribute to the war of disinformation, which I largely think contributes to the possibility of the Republicans losing the midterms.
I think that the oxygen of transparency is very important in a free country. And we have this phrase here, that you can prejudice a trial in the environs of the court. In other words, you can actually be nicked if you're doing or saying something, you know, 50 yards from the court. So we have very draconian rules about this, and I'm not entirely sure why, but it is because I think, you know, I'm a journalist. I believe in disclosure. I believe in transparency. I believe in the public's right to know. The public, I think, should have the right to know about court cases and how they happen and what happens in courtrooms. But we have a system by, oh, no, that's only for barristers and judges, not for the members of the public. So we have this rather dark system where we're not really allowed access to our judicial proceedings. And when we started to allow judges to be filmed delivering their sentences, you thought, well, Britain is now edging towards the American system where we will, in the end, film court cases. But this Charlie Kirk case is proving that actually, rather than us moving towards them and their transparent system, they're moving towards us in the rush and the urge to be less transparent, which I don't think is good.
I think that's because America has appreciated for too long its freedom, and in the UK we've appreciated that we don't have any freedom. So then it's almost like we're sort of traversing into each other's camps. Because we would like, and this is the reason why we discussed a lot about the Americanization of politics, is because they have amendments which enshrines their right to freedom of speech, which kind of goes, you know, downstream towards the fact that they're able to film trials.
Right. And now let's talk a little bit about Tyler Robinson. Now, as I say, we've got to be very careful. He is the accused. He's innocent until proven guilty. So he is alleged to be the killer. If the case is proved and he is found guilty, do you agree with Utah's plan to seek the death penalty?
Well, I'd rather look at the victim of the crime, which being Charlie, and when he was asked about the death penalty, he believed it was principally sound for a Christian to call for the death penalty. So he even believed in it. He just was very critical of whether the government, and this is the discussion surrounding the death penalty, whether the government was able to, without bias, prosecute a man who they knew was 100% guilty. But in this case, I know with all of my heart that the alleged man did in fact kill Charlie Kirk, and I'm very happy to
That
seek
is your
the death
personal
penalty.
feeling.
Yes, that is my personal feeling. I want to make that very clear, not to incriminate talkTV.
Yeah, and I've got to stress, because you know in your heart
Yes.
that doesn't prove that he's guilty. He is innocent until he's proven guilty. I have to be careful here.
Yeah, of course.
You understand that.
I want to make this very clear. I, within my heart, through looking at the evidence of people who go against and in opposition with this theory, and also the prosecutor bringing evidence towards the alleged crime, I believe Tyler Robinson was killed by Charlie Kirk, and I believe that we should seek for the death penalty.
So, Robinson's legal team have asked the judge, Tony Graff, to ban cameras in the courtroom, but the judge has not yet ruled on this request. How do you feel about that? Do you hope they fail in that bid?
I think, firstly, it's already going to be self-evident towards the guiltiness of Tyler Robinson, considering the fact that on the first day,
The alleged guilty.
Sorry, I'm not a professional like these gentlemen.
No.
However, the alleged guilty party, being Tyler Robinson, smiling at the very fact that he is being in court on the alleged crimes, demonstrates in terms of the court of public opinion that it seems like he is more guilty than not in the eyes of other people. Outside of that, I feel like Charlie Kirk's death, in terms of its outcome, has divided and fragmented the right due to a lack of transparency. So I think that what is beneficial for both the grieving partners at Turning Point USA and for other figures outside of Turning Point who, of course, are grieving towards Charlie Kirk's death, receive transparency towards the actual outgoings of the case.
I think you've sort of implicitly answered this already, but I was going to ask you, as a Christian, do you believe in the death penalty?
Yeah, so I think it's principally sound. On a very simple level, you're just meeting your maker, so he can judge you. Outside of that,
your alleged maker.
Yes, yeah. You're alleged.
Those of us aren't particularly believers. But no, sorry, I'm just.
But yeah, I feel like, however, I wouldn't want it in the UK because I don't think that they would quite rightfully dictate whether someone has the right to live or not. I don't think that they would, in an unbiased way, dish out that punishment.
Well, what? But you think they'd be entirely unbiased in America?
I think more
that
so.
might be a little bit of a stretch, to be honest with you.
In terms of Tyler Robinson,
but you can't.
I'm a hypocrite, right?
It's a very
I'm a sinner and a hypocrite because Charlie Kirk was the founder and he seemed like a very passionate man towards British politics. So, of course, when it goes so close to the heart, you would call for this sort of punishment. However, yes, I would agree. I think in the States and the UK, we would have this issue surrounding, are we, as a governing party, fully able to indicate whether someone is 100% fully guilty? I don't think so. However, principally, let's say we live in this hypothetical fantasy
Well, nor
land.
the Americans.
Yeah, not America, but let's say we live in this fantasy world where ideally we could know for 100% that someone's guilty. I think it's fine for the death penalty if it means that, for example, we spend more money incarcerating them with the less likely chance they're going to be rehabilitated into society.
Yeah, it's a very interesting viewpoint that you believe in the death penalty in America but not in Britain. What do you say? You met Charlie?
I've met Charlie a few times, but I'm a very strong advocate against the death penalty.
Are you?
Yeah, 100%. We've argued about it quite passionately, actually, over Axel Ruder-Cabana.
I think it should be compulsory for most of the population.
No, because I don't trust the state having the power to kill me. I don't trust judges or the state having the power to kill me because I know most of it's incompetent.
Well, that's sort of what Thomas
would you ever be in the sort of place where you would be alleged of, like, I don't know, murder?
No, but that
He's got some dodgy history, he's not telling us about.
There's a lot there, but
trust me, the answer to that is yes.
No, but my thing is always, it's about precedent setting. Is that you allow the door to be open a little bit on this issue, then we can open the door on a lot of other things where there has to be a very firm, you're in favour of it or you're against. And this kind of wishy-washy side, which is probably what the British would end up doing, would just be chaos. So I'm more against it in terms of an operational way. I understand why people want the death penalty because it's the reason that we don't let parents who have murdered children sit on juries. You know, there is an understanding there. But what I will say is you're bang on about the fracturing of the right over Charlie and this death. It is ridiculous, the conspiracy theories running around, and also certain high-profile commentators doing it as well. That's got to stop. But it all comes down to the fact that nobody trusts anybody anymore. It's the decline in trust and institutional collapse.
I'm not entirely convinced that that it's a particularly strong argument to say, well, you know, suppose court cases, judges get it, juries get it wrong.
But I'd also
suppose they get it wrong because that's to say, once you say that, you're almost saying, what is the point of the justice system?
Yeah.
If we don't trust juries, then there's no point in any of it.
We have a justice secretary, well, the ones to get rid of juries. That's my fear.
Well, yeah, well,
I won't even be judged by 12.
That's a disgrace.
Yeah,
that is
but
a
but this is my point: is that if that is the way our legal system is going, the death penalty can never be a conversation.
Yeah, where are you on the David Lammy's bid to get rid of jury trial?
Well, it's just inconsistent because before he spoke about how it was enshrined within the Magna Carta. I think that honestly, what makes the Labour Party incompetent is just that it's aware of the consequences or the consistency of their arguments. However, they know that they have to communicate certain policies in a way that hopefully translates to the fact that more people will begin to re-support them. And also, they need to be seen as the party of change. I mean, that was the first word written in their manifesto, change. They are the party to not be the Tories.
I would go back to Rudy Giuliani, and he said, of all people, but he always said that change is the path, not the destination. And unfortunately, we've confused the two.
I've got a story that you may or may not know, Thomas. You probably do know it, Pete. But this is why trial by jury is so important, why we must not ditch it. This is the story of a former Director of Public Prosecutions. His name was Mr. Keir Starmer. During his regime, 28 journalists, newspaper journalists, many of them from the Sun newspaper in this building, were arrested and charged with crimes, the crimes against public secrecy, corrupting public officials, because in journalism you pay whistleblowers quite often. Journalists pay for information, it's their commodity. When people go, oh, it's just so wrong, no, that's our business. So paying for information is not legally wrong, and nor should it be. Anyway, Keir Starmer got 28 of these journalists. It was like a sort of witch hunt, because he doesn't like journalists, because, you know, they tend to question him, and he doesn't like that. 28 journalists. Each one of them had extremely expensive trials at the Old Bailey, big courts. 28 jury trials. 28 juries found all 28 journalists innocent. And that's why we have to have trial by jury, because if we didn't, they would have all been found guilty, and they were not guilty of any crime. So that's just one example of why we must have trial by jury.
And also, if you look at the sort of argumentation surrounding, and this is again just my opinion, the sort of argument to not have juries is because other modern legal systems like Japan don't have them. Even though I would say that their legal system is relatively more ineffective than ours. And also, I trust my peers to make a good inference if they don't have any sort of prior knowledge towards whether I'm guilty or not. I like the idea that if I commit, and the state is just a group of people, if I commit a crime, it is me against the people that I have gone wrong against. Yeah. And this goes more towards whether do we trust the state. That is what popularism is. It
exactly
is
right.
the people versus the establishment.
Right. Exactly
the people
right.
don't trust the establishment anymore.
And
the other way around.
Trials are juries are your peers.
Yes.
You are judged by 12 men and women, decent and true, honourable and true. And I've never been I've never done jury duty. I've successfully avoided it. But people that I know, Julie Hartley-Brewer did it, but lots of friends of mine have done it, and they've all said, because I have a tendency to say, most people are morons, you don't want to be judged by them. But everyone I know who's ever done it, intelligent people, have just said it's just remarkable. It's astonishing. If you get 12 people together in a room, they take it terribly seriously. They realise they're dealing with a human being, a fellow human being's very future. And with 12 people, the process is impressive. One judge, forget it. Forget it. I mean, judges can be very, very...
It's a job as well. Like, would you rather someone who's volunteering... and if they've not avoided it, because I know some people don't like it.
It's not quite volunteering, but
if you're not reluctant in showing up and you actually have a passion for what you're doing because it may be a new experience, or you have sympathies for the fact that you're dealing with the care of another man, I'm largely more in favour of them being competent than someone whose job it is.
And the idea of getting rid of it for bureaucracy reasons, I think, is just perverse.
It's just the empty court cases. the issue is not that we have juries, which increases the backlog of claims. It's just the empty court cases.
Exactly right, exactly right. What do you think, folks? Trial by jury, let us know. Death penalty, if you like. Thomas thinks that they should have the death penalty in America, but not in Britain, because you can't trust Brits. It's an interesting idea. I would suggest, one rule works on both countries. But let me know what you think. 03444991000. When we come back, we're going to talk about a story we've been covering all week. I'm very worried about it. It is the rape gang inquiry, the grooming gang inquiry. They finally come up with a chairman. She's got two. Anne Longfield, her name is Baroness. Of course, these weird baronesses. Where do they get these people from? She's a Labour Party stalwart. Until recently, she's resigned her job as the House of Lords Labour whip in order to take on this new role as chairman of the rape inquiry. There's a panel of three. One of her sidekicks is also a Labour Party member, and the other one is very keen on Jeremy Corbyn. This is supposed to be impartial and biased. This sounds like a very biased chairperson, and a very biased panel of three. Very worrying. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Young Bob, aka Thomas Moffat, and of course Pete Barnes. Old Pete.
Everyone here is old compared to me, trust me.
This guy's 17. I mean, that shouldn't be allowed, if you ask me. But yes, Thomas, we were talking before the break. I want to get your take on this. So the government has spent, I think it's like 6 months, trying to find. Maybe it goes back to March.
It does.
Yeah, March. Is that more than 6 months? Trying to find someone to chair the rape gang inquiry. Which I'm not in favour of all these public inquiries. I think we have too many, but this requires one. This is the worst sex scandal in British history. As many as 250,000 vulnerable young girls, many of them white, sexually abused, raped, drugged, tortured by rape gangs, gangs of men, predominantly Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. So we need an inquiry into what went wrong as coppers, social workers, teachers, local politicians turned a blind eye to what was going on in their communities for fear of being accused of being racist or Islamophobic. Now, here's the problem, Thomas. They've come up with this is Labour. Labour's problem here is going back to Mr. Keir Starmer, the Director of Public Prosecutions. He was DPP from 2008 to 2013 during the height of the rape gang activity. Only at the very end did he start to bring people to justice. For much of his tenure, nothing. So he's not going to come out of this well. Also, most of the rape gang activity happened in Labour-controlled constituencies or boroughs. So all in all, this is not comfortable for the Labour Party, for the Labour government, and that's why they've put this off and kicked the can down the road as long as possible. Finally, they came up with a chairman this week. Her name is Longfield, Baroness Longfield, Anne Longfield. She's a Labour peer. She was, until this week, I believe, the Labour whip in the House of Lords. So she's a Labour stalwart. She resigned that job to do this. Also, Zoe Billingham is a Labour Party member. She's she's chairman of the Norfolk and Suffolk NHS Foundation Trust, former chief executive and also the former chief executive of Southwark Council, Eleanor Kelly. So Zoe Billingham is also a Labour Party member. So you've got 2 Labour Party members, and the third one is, as I say, chief executive of former chief exec of Southwark University Council. Southwark University, is there one? Southwark Council, Eleanor Kelly. Eleanor Kelly is a strong, has tweeted a lot in favour of her hero Jeremy Corbyn. That's the panel that will chair this inquiry. It was very important in my mind for this to be entirely impartial, entirely unbiased, particularly as Labour's reputation is on the line here. These people, in my view, may be likely to protect Labour's interest and the Prime Minister's interest. I don't think this is satisfactory, do you?
So firstly, I want to give my appreciations to many people outside of these public inquiries, the protests which host the voices of survivors, Rupert Lofer doing his own independent inquiry funded by other people. He's had even more in terms of movement and transitioning coming to his investigation. And just the general public. I mean, how can we have communities where women, when they're sexually abused, can't move to their parents, can't move to their teachers, can't move to their police officers, can't move to their local MP, can't move to their councillors? Why is it that all of these key people, in terms of the most vulnerable and valuable asset to a community, that being children, couldn't take care of them? And that question could be solved through a public inquiry, but if it's an echo chamber of Labour MPs, councillors and lords that all share in the same interest in preserving the already damaged reputation of Labour, I guarantee you there'll be no terms of progress being made in there, especially considering if you look at the long track record of even the accusation that these inquiries, in terms of the sort of threshold of what they consider victims of these gangs,
Yeah.
they are, in what many of the victims labelling it as, diluting what it means for this investigation to go forward. So I don't really care who these people are. I don't even care if they have interests in terms of preserving Labour's status quo. I only really care whether victims, survivors, actually feel like they are having the service being done.
Well, interesting you should say this, because I think it's 4. They had this thing called the victims panel. These are the poor girls who were tortured and raped by these gangs. One of them has become actually a personal friend of me and Samara Gill, my producer. Her name is Ellie Reynolds. She lives in Barrow in Furness. She led the charge. She quit the inquiry. So did 3 other girls, because they said, first of all, they started trying to appoint a former copper. They said, no, the coppers were the problem. Then they tried to appoint a former social worker. And they said social workers were the problem. So then they found that they were being demeaned and talked down to. They also demanded the resignation of Jess Phillips, the so-called safeguarding Minister for Women's Safety. They feel she's demeaned them and patronises them. So they've walked out on this inquiry. So when you say, will the interests of the victims be served, a significant number of victims who were involved have already decided that this is some kind of stitch-up. And now, with the appointment of 3 or 2 Labour Party members and a Jeremy Corbyn supporter, I happen to know that they feel the stitch-up is confirmed and complete. So they're not happy.
I feel like the people part of the public inquiry are more likely to unionise against their own interests than actually find a credible conclusion when it comes to the actual outcome of whether these people, whether the social care workers, whether the police, whether Labour MPs and councillors actually were credible towards the continuation of these gangs. I mean, one of the things as well that Labour keep on failing to do is communication. The Labour Party has an issue in terms of a policy platform, in terms of scandals they've been in, that they can't communicate well at all what they want to do and the progress that they're making to have that be done. And that is going to be the downfall of the Labour Party. That's going to be the downfall of ultimately the Uni Party, because mind you, the Conservative government has also, to a degree, oversaw this lack of transparency when it comes to the grooming gang scandal.
Yeah, and didn't the Tories launch the COVID inquiry?
Yes,
didn't
they did.
Look at that fiasco.
Oh yeah, my favourite thing.
Look at that fiasco.
Yeah. I mean, like, well, we got the latest report, and the government went, "We'll take it under advisement." That was a great waste of money, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been my thing: is we do the inquiry and then we don't follow through. But look at the Casey report and all this kind of stuff. You know,
well, the Casey report forced the rape inquiry,
well, there were like, what,
because Keir Starmer didn't want it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Thomas, thank you for coming in. Now you've got to make your way home, and I'm going to require you to wear this mask.
The super flu.
Because of the super flu.
I'll get profiled when I come out of the building.
Yeah. There he is, young Bob with a mask on. I suspect you won't ever see that again. Yeah. He's doing his bit as a good citizen, a compliant citizen, doing what the government wants him to do for the first time in your life, I suspect. Thomas, great to see you as always. The brilliant young Bob, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't he astonishing? Let's go to break, and when we come back, we'll cover some more stories. We're going to talk to a man who's got more than 100 children. How about that? Seriously, that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
By the way, don't forget to check out on YouTube now our amazing documentary, The Undercover Migrant, as made and filmed by the excellent Talk International editor Isabel Oakeshott. That's on YouTube now. Everybody's flocking to it. It's the story of a guy who went undercover into the Calais jungle, and his revelations, what he found and he filmed, it's jaw-dropping. What the hell is going on there? It is a revelation. So that is on YouTube now. Might talk about it a lot when we come back on Monday. In the meantime, good news from the King. We thought we'd better play you a bit of this. He's revealed that his cancer treatment has been reduced. In other words, he's on the mend. Here's a little taste of what the King had to say.
Today I am able to share with you the good news that thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention and adherence to doctors' orders, my own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year. This milestone is both a personal blessing and a testimony to the remarkable advances that have been made in cancer care in recent years. Testimony that I hope may give encouragement to the 50% of us who will be diagnosed with the illness at some point in our lives.
Well, that's good news, isn't it? Charlie's on the mend. Excellent. He'll have a happy Christmas and be firing on all cylinders in the new year. That is excellent news at this special time of year. Talking of special, my show, What Just Happened. See that? What a link. What a link. That's
professional through and through.
That's why I get the big bucks. It really is. That's the worst link in broadcasting history. Talking of special, it's my show, What Just Happened, at 9 p.m. Joe, only in about 20 minutes now. Here's a little taster of what you can enjoy from 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock.
We've stopped your children from accessing pornography. No, it's called a VPN. Everyone knows about it who's under 30, and they will access whatever they want to access.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other point. The other point you're making very well there, Samara, is, of course, I'm against the whole principle of the ban, but it's pointless because kids are very, very artful when it comes to they'll get onto social media.
And it will block the adults because we'll be faced with something, you got to put your own, we won't get it, and we'll be banned from social media, and the kids will all be on it.
There you go, there's Ash, and prior to that, Samara Gill. So Ash Gill, that guy in the middle, that was me. We were talking then about the social media ban for every kid under the age of 16 in the Soviet Socialist Republic of Australia, where they've got about as much freedom in Australia as they have in bloody Afghanistan. It's right. What's the government down there? Is it the Taliban or something? Anyway, that was one of our discussions, and so that's in 20 minutes or so. Do tune in. Hope you enjoy it. If you're not watching on YouTube, don't worry. It's totally radio friendly. You can listen to it. And tomorrow morning, as of about 9 o'clock, it's on YouTube, and you can watch it as and when you watch, anytime you like. So there you go. Now, moving on. I haven't got any children. I don't think you've got any children.
No.
Well, our next guest, I think he's officially he's had about 84 children so far, but he expects over the months to come to take that tally to over 100. That's a lot of kids to have. Big family to run. I mean, man, this guy's going to make a fortune now that they've lifted the two-child bet. I mean, he's got 98 kids he's going to get money for. He's going to be a millionaire. No, we're being facetious. This is, meet in a second, the world's most prolific sperm donor. He's Kyle Gordy. Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thank you for having me on. By the way, here's my Instagram.
Okay, Okay, so if anybody needs any sperm, there's the address. So you're 32, Kyle, and you're a sperm donor. You offer free sperm donation services, both in person and remotely, to women having difficulty conceiving. What does it mean in person? I mean, to get it on with them, or what?
I mean, I have done it. That just means I think like what they're trying to say is like intercourse. So yeah, I've done
that's
it
what I
with
meant. Yeah.
women before. Yeah, I've done that, and then I've also done it in a cup, which is the preferred method because most women that obviously come see me that want me, they go to my Instagram. They're usually lesbian couples, so they're not really into sex.
Okay, so you think, well, you know, currently you've fathered 87 children, but you're expecting 14 more this year from women in Sweden, Norway, England and Scotland. And I've got a quote here from you saying, "It feels great to be a dad of so many children." Why is that? Why does it feel great?
I think it's a lot of joy because when you get like, you know, these women didn't have kids before, they really struggled. Like the one in Sweden, she was a what is it called? Her husband died, so she was a widow, and she thought she'd never have a child, and so her mom actually contacted me to help her daughter have a child, and so now we have a daughter, and she's like really happy with it.
You offer your services for free, for which I genuinely feel you must be commended. I mean, is that what you're talking about when you say it feels great? Because you bring joy to women who are having trouble conceiving.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of joy from it. I think, you know, I get joy, but it also keeps me healthy because by donating, like, it keeps me healthy. Like, I take over 30 supplements a day. My sperm count is in the top 0.1%. So my sperm better than every one out of, I'm in the top one of every 1,000 guys. My sperm is 0.25 billion, which is insanely high, with a progressive motility of 76%. So really high sperm, really super fertile. Like I would be elite sperm donor status, essentially. If I went to a sperm bank, probably have a higher sperm bank than almost any guy at any bank.
Well, that's I had my sperm counted last week. It was in single figures, which isn't good news. But to be serious, that's a joke, by the way. To be serious, how did you get into this, Kyle?
Well, relationships never worked out, and I knew a lesbian couple and they want to have a child, so I donated for them. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm looking for a wife now. I am looking for a wifey, so there is.
You're looking for a wife. I mean, I was going to say to have a child of your own, but you've got lots of children of your own. But a child that you will personally bring up, which will be a new experience for you. You're not married, and do you have a partner at all, or?
No, I was seeing someone.
Yeah, you've been too busy, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I was dating 6 months ago, broke up, but now I'm like, oh, what was nice. So now I'm for a wife or a lifey to have traditional family with.
Okay, and how are you able to maintain doing this? I mean, do you have a job? I mean, it's very kind of you to do it for free. I mean, is it something you can do on a part-time basis while holding down a normal job? How are you able to do it for free?
I just work remotely, so I do like accounting work and finance stuff from home, so I can work and travel wherever I want. So UK, Ireland, Europe, really. Because right now I'm based in Europe, Ireland and stuff like that, in UK. That's my base, like Europe.
But isn't your hometown Los Angeles?
Yes, correct. I don't go there anymore that often.
Yeah.
Last time I was I think January.
Yeah. And what is? I mean, do you have a moral code? What are the rules of the game, if you can explain them to me? I mean, for example, would there be any circumstances where you would say to a woman, no?
Yeah, like if I felt like she was harming the child or she's a drug addict, I probably am going to donate in that situation. Like obviously, I'm not going to turn someone down because they're bipolar or something like that. You know, I feel like, you know, there has to be a good reason to turn them down. Like if they're drug or something going to harm the child, that's like a deal breaker. If they're a drug addict, I mean, can't pay. But
yeah. So if a woman from England, so obviously you were talking about, you know, donating your sperm, but if a woman from England got in touch and say, could we do this personally, you'd hop on a plane?
Yeah, if they're like Ireland or UK, yeah, I mean, or whatever, Europe, whatever, Australia, yeah, I mean, I get a train or wherever I'm at that moment, and then just
Yeah.
go get them pregnant or wife them up or whatever it is.
I mean, there's a lot of reasons to come to England or to Britain, but that's as good as any, right?
Yeah, why not?
You're 32 years old, and as you say, you keep yourself fit deliberately, or to maintain your role as a prolific sperm donor. Do you foresee if you find the woman of your dreams and you settle down and you have your own child, or you have your own child that you can raise yourself, will you then cease this activity?
So this is the problem I had with the last person I was with. Like she knew I was doing this, but then obviously she couldn't handle it. But I told her like, hey, once you're pregnant, I would lower it. I'd still donate, but I wouldn't do it as much. But so essentially, my plan is I find someone who's interested, and we talk, we get on, have a kid, have kids, whatever. I would obviously lower I do it. Like I make a priority for the family unit situation. So
you've found it in your personal life with your personal partners and girlfriends that it can be a bit problematical when you say to them, you take them out on the first date, you go for dinner or something, and you say, oh, by the way, I've got 100 kids. You find that can be problematical with your date?
Oh, yeah, it's a bit of an issue. I think these women don't really like the whole sperm donor thing in general. Most. That's why it's hard to find a very understanding woman. It's like, oh, you have 100 kids, but you don't look at it as 100 kids. You look at it like this family unit of people that are always be there. Because I wanted like 100, 200 siblings because they have all these friendships for life. I don't know if you saw in the news recently. Well, this is a different situation. The cancer, there's a donor at a European stake in Denmark. He donated to 200 kids. He had 200 kids and he had a cancer gene. So
yeah, I heard about that. What does that make you feel? I mean, you're obviously healthy, but that was. I didn't read that story intricately. Did he know he had that cancer gene?
No. But everybody has. No one has perfect genetics. That's the thing. Yeah. So the argument to me is, are you going to sperm bank when there's no way for there's some genetic testing, but very basic usually. They don't do no sperm bank does full genetic testing. They do very basic tests like cystic fibrosis, Tay-Sachs, whatever. So there's really no way to stop this is happening. And it happens all the time. This is not the first time. It happens often. It's just not reported.
Listen, Carl, really fascinating to talk to you. I've got a last question. Do all these kids you have, do you maintain any relationships with them? Do you know any of these kids that you've had, and have you seen them? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I've met over, I think like 20 of my kids I've met, and I have seen some of them sometimes. I got given my citizenship to some of the kids. I passed on my American citizenship. Anyone want me to, obviously they're interested in, they want their kid to have American citizenship, like British, Irish, European, Australian, whatever.
That's interesting.
I'll pass it on to them.
So if you send your sperm to an English lady who then has your child, that child legally can have American citizenship. That's fascinating. Is that a fact?
Yes.
Wow.
And that's exactly what I did at the embassy.
Wow, yes. That is amazing. So you maintain a relationship with about 20 of them. I presume what you say to the women, the mothers, is if you'd like me to maintain a relationship with the kid, I'm very happy to do it. But if you don't, fine. Correct. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, it's up to the woman. I always leave it up to the woman. And women appreciate that I'm willing to be in a relationship, like actually have contact with the child, because it's in the best interest of the child to know the biological father.
Amazing. Well, listen, Carl, what a fascinating story, and I wish you well with what you do. You're not doing it for any money, you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and I think it's a great thing. So, Carl Gordy, sperm donor supreme extraordinaire, thank you very much. That's Carl Gordy, a sperm donor with 100 kids. That's fascinating.
That was the most bizarre thing I've ever sat through, but it was interesting. I know, because it's the fact he doesn't do it for money.
I know.
That's the
exactly right.
Incredible,
exactly right.
actually.
That's what gives him the credibility that he deserves.
Yeah,
I think he's doing it to help women. I got the feeling that is a genuine guy.
Yeah, definitely.
Unusual guy, but a genuine guy. Let's go to break. We're going to play some commercials. Let's listen to them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I want to say sorry to all the people that phoned up tonight, but we just have had such a packed show, we really haven't managed to talk to anybody. But we are going to squeeze in a call from one of our favourite callers all the way from Cornwall, Jill. Hello, Jill.
How are you, Kev? All right?
I'm all right. You want to talk about the ECHR? I mean, what is it for?
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's certainly not for our human rights, is it?
That's true.
The thing is, it's for everyone else except us, and we're the ones paying. I'm just fed up with the fact that whether these people whether they go to lawyers and solicitors of any sort, we're paying for those as well.
Yeah, but one of the more bizarre aspects of this, and I gather under the terms of the ECHR and the Human Rights Act, we have to do this as a nation, that when these people break into our country illegally, we are required legally to provide them with free lawyers. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous.
Yes, so either way, we're slapping ourselves in the face. And it's costing us regardless of. And what I'm so sick of the fact is that every day there will be an item of people on the streets, you know, soldiers that have left the army, living on the streets.
Yeah, they're homeless, where these people who break into it, we give them 4-star hotels. Something wrong with that picture, Jill?
Well, so who is deciding on the human rights for the people of this country? You know, where are the lawyers to fight?
Well, because this government and previous government, they prioritise foreigners and asylum seekers over us. I mean, look at these Afghani migrants, 70,000 that come over from Afghanistan. The ones who came here on Operation Resettlement Afghanistan were put to the front of social housing queues. So people who've been waiting for years were pushed down so we could give Afghanis homes. That seems to be the system here.
Well, and the thing is, it was Labour that actually signed us up for this. You know,
of course.
Tony
How
Blair
about
signed us
that?
up. Yeah, Tony Blair signed us up for the ECHR. But I'm upset with the fact that we only seem to apply these laws and rules to people who have come into this country illegally. They haven't come in with good some of them.
No, they break into our country illegally, and then we take the political decision that if they say, I want asylum, then they become legal. That is not a legal situation. That's a political situation. If we just